Cool. I think we're live now. Let me just have a look on YouTube. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is episode 1 of Coffee with Hayden, a little new thing that we've been testing out at the moment. Yeah, we're live, which is good. I am joined by Vlad at the moment. I'm calling him Vlad. How do you pronounce your full name,
Vlad? Vladislav.
Let's say again.
Vladislav.
Nice. Okay. You're the second Vlad in the Amazon community that I know of.
Yeah. But no. I don't know how is his full name, because can be Vladimir, or because they all use like Vlad, even his Vladimir or
yeah, probably Vladimir, isn't it? Yeah, but that's cool. That's cool.
It's more popular.
Yeah. So cool. How you doing anyway?
Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's cool.
Nice.
What
did you do at the weekend?
Not much party. Because the weather is nice. We go with my family out next to like Kingston Riverside, which is a really nice place. Have some dinner, few beers. Nice.
Sounds good. Cool. So this is episode 1 for everyone. This is episode 1, Coffee with Hayden. Now, just to give you a brief overview, this is episode 1. I did a post the other day, and I sort of formatted it as in like, I want to create some more content for YouTube and various places, and also I like helping people as much as I can. So any fairly new people that are to Amazon, I thought I'd start something called Coffee with Hayden, and that would just be me getting guests on that are relatively new to Amazon, and then they can just ask me whatever questions they want. That's the idea that I've got. So just sort of testing it out at the moment. I think it's cool, but just for complete transparency, like I'm not a major expert in Amazon. Obviously, I make an income from Amazon, but I'm not one of these massive, I'm not a big guru in Amazon. So for full transparency, if I don't know the answer to a question, then I will simply say that I don't know the answer. I'm not going to pretend that, I know something that I don't, just for full transparency. But anyway, without further ado, this is Vlad. This is episode 1, Coffee with Hayden. Feel free to go ahead with any questions you've got. And I think we're starting with virtual assistant questions.
Yeah, that's something that I'm thinking about, as I would like to, like in a year time, if it's possible, to outsource all the things so I can work in every point in the world.
So that's your aim, yeah?
Sorry, sir?
That's your aim, is it? To outsource?
Yeah. That's my goal, yeah. So it's very important for me because, like, my wife is from Bali, so we would love to move to Bali and travel around the world as well. So,
do you work in Bali now?
Who? Me?
Yeah. Do you usually work in Bali? Did you say?
No. My wife is from there, but we live here at the moment in UK. Yeah.
Nice, lovely. What's the first question, virtual assistants?
Yeah. So. I'm planning to do that, to hire someone, but first of all, I don't know which one is better, to do it by myself, to hire someone to train and hire the assistant, and like when is the right time to do that? Because I'm like at my 3rd month, really early, but I see some people like even in their 6th month they already do a lot of sales and profits. Me, I'm not really, but I would like to do that because I honestly don't like to spend a lot of time, and I don't have that time to source products and things like that. That's why when I start first, I start with the prep center. I didn't do it by myself. I just straight started the prep center because I was thinking I would do everything like. From the beginning, I didn't know like how much I'm gonna earn or is there gonna be any profit. So I just decided to jump like that. But now I realize that it's actually maybe a better idea to start first with doing by yourself, like the prepping at least.
Okay. So what's the question about the VAs? Sorry.
Yeah. When do you think is the right time to start with a VA, like to hire one or to?
Yeah. So obviously you need to track your profits. So just as a little background, I've had VA since month. Where are we? I didn't get a VA for about 4 or 5 months. And just to give you an idea of where I was with investment wise, I was about, I put about £2,000 or £3,000 in, and then about 5-6 months later, I put about 15,000 in. Now I tried to hire an assistant initially when I just had a few thousand in, and it was just a bit tricky because the majority of my profits were going on the virtual assistant. So I can't give you an exact amount because it's so hard to gauge that, when obviously it depends how much ROI you're making on individual items, profit you're making, etc. But I would say if you're putting a really low amount in, not asking you specifics here, but if you're putting a really low amount in, then it's going to be really tricky. I would say anyone that's putting in sub 6,000 or 7,000 to start with, this is a rough idea off the top of my head, you're going to struggle to have a VA in the first 6 months. Anyone that's putting in more than that, potentially, you obviously you could get one after a few months. But the important thing to remember about VAs is that it's an additional cost and it is coming out of your profit. So to start with, the aim should be, and a lot of big sellers, even they don't have VAs or didn't for a long time. Luke Dugan, when he used to mentor me when I was starting out, he used to mentor me, and he was a 7-figure seller doing hundreds of thousands. He didn't even have any VAs. So that allowed him to reinvest more and more and more, and he did that for years. So I would say that I outsourced too soon. I tried to, and then I had to, I sort of, I put too much profit out there, and I had to sit back and then recalculate, keep reinvesting in the business, and then I got a VA later on. And up to this stage, I've got, a few VAs that work for me now, and I've had loads in the past. Some have worked out, some haven't. It's not just financials either. So when you're getting a VA, you've got to understand that you've got to create systems and processes for them. The sourcing VA is the easiest one to get in terms of, how can I put it? The sourcing VA is the easiest one. It's not even the right word for me to say to manage, but to set up a sourcing VA, it's the easiest because it's quite straightforward, right? Training them is not straightforward, and keeping them motivated is not straightforward, in my opinion. But when I mean an admin VA, for example, they're really hard to sort of set up because you've got to get them into your system. You've got to spend weeks creating systems and processes to fit them into your business. So I would say that you've got to look at your money, and you've got to make sure that you can afford to pay them. So what I would be doing is tracking your monthly profits and see if you can afford to outlay that VA. So if you're only making, top of my head, £500 to £1,000 profit, net profit after everything, then you've got to know that a normal VA is between $300 to, $550 a month. So, for a sourcing VA, between if they're part-time or full-time. So you've got to make sure that can take off. You can take that profit off, and then you've got to make sure that you can reinvest enough to keep building the business. So to start with, unless you've got a fair chunk of money, it's really, really important to keep that money in the business, reinvesting. And this is why, to start with, also, I think it's best to do the prep yourself, just even for a few months, just so that you're making sure the business gets off to a good start. But that does depend how much you've got to invest. If you're putting 25 grand in, then I don't think that's necessary. And you could, you know what I mean? You could go a bit harder, but at the same time, you still got to learn your lessons. So you've got to look at the financial side of things, and then you've also got to look at your time. So it's not necessarily, if you're going to hire and train them yourself, and also you need management skills, really. Like, you've got to learn that. I was a terrible manager to start with, and I had VAs leave because I was a bad manager. So you've got to understand it's going to take more time, and it's going to take your profit. So if I was starting again, I would probably not get a VA for at least the first 6 months. I'll be reinvesting every single penny, and reinvesting all of my time into basically sourcing, and then preparing myself to get VAs. So that's what I'd do. But there's no right answer. But you've got to understand it's going to take a fair chunk of your profit to start with. That's all.
Yeah, because at the moment, I don't take any of the profit, whatever it is. I just reinvest. I don't need that at the moment because it's not my main income. But I would like to be my main income when like a year or some past, But I'm not sure is it gonna be so easy to do that.
If I'm honest, it's not. A lot of people, if they're trying to sell you something, may say it's easy. But it's not easy to have this as your full-time income. I would say I pretty much earn a full-time income from this, but I reinvest every penny still, and I'm like 15, 16 months in. And the reason I do that is because I want it to keep growing. If I take out all the profits, the business is going to stagnate. It's not going to grow anymore. It's just going to be sitting where it is, and I'm not interested in that. But you can, do you know what I mean? You can do that. So it depends how much you want to invest. But even if you've got a lot to invest, the first 6 months, I think should just be learning rather than, because otherwise you could waste a lot of money, and if you don't know enough. So.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Every person, there is different goals. So aiming for something. It's like, for me, it's important to be enough to go somewhere, like to live everywhere and in the world. So it's to be my main income, but I'm not sure at the moment how big I want to scale it. So
yeah,
most of the people like you probably want to be really big,
I don't. No, I don't. For me, I would not ever be happy doing less than 20,000 a month, but I don't want to do any more than 40, 50,000 a month. And that's like my max that I want to get to, so I never do less than 20,000 now, but I don't do more than 40 or 50. So I'm sort of in between that. And I like that. That's sort of where I'm quite happy to be at the moment.
You're talking about profit, right?
No, turnover. No.
Okay. Okay.
No, that'd be Lamborghini money. But no, we're not. No. We're talking turnover. So that's it, really. That's sort of where I am. So I don't want to scale it big, but it sort of double the size and then stay that. So and I think you've got to be doing, if you're doing sort of traditional OA, I do think you need to be doing 30, 40,000 a month in order to take a salary that's pretty much considered a full salary. I don't know, 1,300, 1,500, like a small salary, and then leave 1,000, 2,000 pounds back in the business to keep building it. But obviously, if you want to take more money than you can, it will just, obviously your business won't really be growing and, putting back 500 quid in the business and stuff, like it will be a little bit, but that's fine. That's where I'm sort of happy to get to. But you've got to make that mind up for yourself, how big you want to grow it, I suppose.
For me, it's important at the beginning to be enough big so I can live on it. But if you compare, like if you live like in Bali or in some place like
cheap,
where digital nomads live, because like for example in Bali, you can rent a house, like 3-bedroom house for 1,500 per year, which is like what probably you pay in England for a month.
Yeah. So exactly, yeah, mate. I could have a great lifestyle in Bali right now just off the Amazon income. It's like, it depends what goals you have. Do you know what I mean? I suppose it depends what goals you have.
Exactly what I'm saying.
I think, but if you want to take out a good salary, like a couple of grand a month, you need to be at least £40,000 a month turnover on Amazon doing traditional. I think, because then you've always got to leave, I think, a little bit of money. I mean, sorry, just to clarify, I'm talking about this if you're outsourcing everything, just to make that clear. So if you want to do everything yourself, the prep, the admin, the sourcing, God, you don't need to be anywhere near, like, do you know what I mean? I could be earning a lot, like now, doing what I'm doing. I could be earning, I don't know, it's tricky to say, a lot basically. But I've decided to outsource pretty much everything. I want to be like 95% outsourced. If you're happy to do more yourself, then you could earn a lot more, a lot quicker. And a lot of people do that because they want to build the business faster. So you've got to make that decision for yourself, really.
Yeah, well, I would love to manage the business, but the things that I can't do from abroad, like prepping and sourcing, you can source obviously, but like the things that maybe I can say I don't like much to do and take much of my time. I don't mind like to do the orders, to check the business how it's going, to call Amazon and things like that. Like what about the admin is gonna do, like to see how my account's going, my account help and everything.
You don't mind doing that, or do you want someone to do
that? No, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you are now. You wait till you do thousands a month. That's when it gets a bit of a nightmare. Trust me on that.
Yeah, but still, it's gonna be something that I would love to do than the rest. I
Yeah.
mean,
Obviously, that's up to you. It does get pretty painful. Luke's on the call. Hey, buddy. He said, "Hey, babe." Hi, mate. Yeah, Luke will agree here, I'm sure. We've both got very similar sized businesses. Like, we're in a pool together. We buy the exact same deals. We're really like that in the Amazon world, and we both went through this, right? The admin, once you're doing tens of thousands a month, it becomes a nightmare. It's like it's a full time sort of,
yeah, I understand.
But it's also a privilege to outsource that. So I didn't outsource that until about 4 months ago. So I was doing the admin for about a year and a bit. And yes, you could travel and enjoy your life with doing the admin, but I just think that time is better spent elsewhere. That time could be working on generating more income. But it is a privilege to outsource it. So yeah, the admin's one of the last things that I outsourced.
Yeah, well, for sure, if I see I'm not happy anymore with that, I'm gonna search for admin as well or whatever I need. But
Yeah.
so also, I'm thinking to as you said, it's hard to manage and to train someone like a VA. So that's what I was thinking to ask for a paid service who do that for me. So I'm not dealing. I just don't like to deal with the things that I don't like or I don't understand well. So I prefer to hire someone to do it for me. So it's gonna be, and I'm gonna do the things that I see, I understand, and I know how to do. The rest gonna be for it's gonna be for people who understand from their business and their jobs. So
yeah. Was that a question or was that just a?
no, but yeah, I mean, do you think it's okay to hire a service to do that, like training and hire someone, or do you prefer? I mean, we're not talking. Let's say you have the money and you're okay with that to spend it. So is it better, or you prefer to do it by yourself?
It depends on your investment,
Yeah.
but there is also an argument that it would make you more money and save you time, and therefore, make you more money because time is money and all that sort of thing. If you couldn't train a VA up properly, obviously. Look, at the end of the day, it's up to you, to be honest.
Yes. If I don't train them right, the proper way, and
you could end up paying them.
Well, and I'm just losing time, spending money for nothing because obviously the time when I have to pay them anyway, that time. So
it's completely up to you. It depends how much money investment you've got. Personally, I trained mine myself just because I wanted to go through that experience, and I've got videos of how I train them in the YouTube. I've got a great source in VA now. Yes, he's had his issues, but now he's good. He can definitely do the job. Could I get someone a bit better if I went for a paid service? Probably, but he does a job up to a good standard that I'm happy with, even though he's had his bleep. So I was happy with that, and then I sort of gave him a chance when maybe some people wouldn't have, and it was quite nice to go through that experience myself. I've then obviously got the admin VA that I trained up myself, and I would personally never. I would personally never pay a service for an admin VA because I tried that and it just wasn't right for me because I think that's got to be integrated with your stuff, with your business. But once again, it is right for some people, so I'm not saying it's not. Basically, it comes down to whether you can afford to pay for the service, which you should probably be able to if you're thinking of taking one on, or do you want to do the process yourself? So once again, there's no right or wrong answer. If you're really bad at managing and training up staff, which some people are, and I was to start with, you're probably better off getting a service. But I'm not, this is just my honest opinion. I'm not selling any service here, so I'm not even going to mention anyone. But there is that way of doing it, or do it yourself and learn the process, so that once you've learned to do it yourself, you can keep repeating that, and then you can train your growth manager in the future to then train up the staff going through your processes, or you could just pay, I don't know, 400 or 500 quid, whatever it is, to a service to do that for you and repeat it. So it's completely up to you, really. Completely up to you. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
And do you think how you put the things like you hire the sourcing VAs, after that is the admin, or how you or you love to hire another sourcing VA, or how you do the things?
So you're saying the process from what stage do you
Yeah,
hire?
yeah, like in your case, like how was the thing first?
What
First,
what
hire
process
one.
do I outsource my business? Is that
Yeah,
what stages? So I started. I prepped myself. Then I got a prep center, and then I got a unit, and then I got another unit, and then I got fed up, and then I got another prep center, and then I switched prep centers, and then that's where we are. And then I introduced sourcing VAs, and then tested VAs, and then I got a sourcing VA which was good and sort of helped them. And then they left, and then I got another sourcing VA. So and then I got an admin VA, and then the next step is a purchasing VA, and I'm in a pool as well with other VAs. So that's my process, and most people get a sourcing VA first because it's just that's what you need to move the business forwards.
yeah.
I did at one stage take on a sourcing VA and an admin VA at the same time, just because it was the right thing to do for me because the business was at that stage. So I would say prep center first, sourcing VA, admin VA, and then I've switched them into a business manager so far. Pretty much outsourced the whole business apart from purchasing. And then the next step is the purchasing VA. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a pool. I'd need 2 or 3 sourcing VAs if I wasn't in the VA pool that I'm in. So I would suggest making some really good contacts in the Amazon communities now, like my group, Lad's group, Secret World Project, all of them. And then maybe pop in the questions, and then when it comes to taking on a sourcing VA, maybe start a VA pool. And then you want to get to the stage where you've got more deals than you can buy, where investment's becoming an issue, where you're making a nice bit of money, and then start outsourcing the rest.
Oh, yeah, good idea. But what do you use like to communicate between you and the VAs? Like
all the software.
Yeah, or just and how you know that they did their job right? Like you just see what they give you, like for example, what deals, and you check them and see is it profitable or no, or you just check them how much they work, or how.
Yeah, sure. So all the software that I use, I suppose that the VAs use and that I use to manage them is so they have all my logins, etc., for BuyBot Pro. And I don't use this feature because I just personally don't use it. But I know that I probably should use it more, but I just fully trust my VAs. So on BuyBot Pro as well, you can actually track your VAs, and it will take screenshots of their work every now and then. I've done that on my BuyBot Pro tutorial that I did a video on a few days ago. So I didn't even know it was there, until a few months ago, a while ago. I didn't even know that was there, but you can actually track your VAs on that, and they can also send deals to you to check on that. But anyway, so my VAs use BuyBot Pro for all that sort of stuff, for their sourcing. They have access to that, and then communication, we use Slack. So I have a channel set up, and I'll probably do a video on this soon. Actually, I have a different channel set up for my prep center, my VAs.
Yeah, I use it for the prep center. We use the Slack as well.
You use it already, yeah. I use all that for that, and then in terms of the submitting their deals, I just use Google Drive. We have a shared sheet, and it's quite an in-depth, detailed sheet. It's quite calculated. What's the word I'm looking for? Populated. And then at the end of each deal, I just say good deal. I say new winner or bad buy. Put it red, put it green, and then I put a little comment next to it with my reasons as to why I have bought it or haven't bought that deal. And then that just gives them feedback on every single little deal. And that's a really good, obviously, tip to make sure that they can see that every morning, and then they can work on improving themselves every single day with your feedback. So that's all the software that I use. Some people use like Friday or something like that. Is it Friday.com? What's that? The management tool, Sana or something. I just haven't felt the need for that at the moment. The business isn't really. I haven't got 10 staff members, so I don't really need that at the moment. But you could use something like that. But for me, I didn't need it. It was an added cost. So that's all I use. Yeah.
I was thinking like if you're happy of the deals that your VA find for you, so do you really need to check how many hours he work or what's going on? If
Yeah, I mean, I don't. No, I don't. I don't feel the need.
if you're happy, if it's profitable, then
Yeah, exactly.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
I don't use that now. I just fully trust my VA to be doing it. And don't get me wrong, there's been times where I've sort of second guessed it, but I just feel like I'm quite a good judge of character, and I can tell if someone is sort of playing up or purposely, and then I will sort of pull them up on that as a manager, and I will just say I think that you're kind of taking the piss a bit, and I will pull them up on it, and then they actually usually just admit that they were taking the piss, and then they get better. So. Excuse the language, but that's what I do, and I feel like I'm quite a good judge of character. But obviously, you've got to decide for yourself, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you think they can do like they can sell the deals to someone else in the
there is that as well. There is that, and there is VAs that definitely do that. So once again, that is down to your own, obviously, judgments on that as to whether you think there are the sort of VA that would do that. I don't think I've ever had issues with a VA doing that. Obviously, I don't know, but I've never had, I've never had a big red flag where I thought that was happening. And a good way to test that actually is because I think sometimes people worry that their VA is just getting deals, like because essentially a VA could actually buy a deal sheet, couldn't they? They could buy a deal sheet. They could have 12 staff. They could have 12 clients, and then they could just copy and paste all the deals onto that. So a way to test that is that I used to, at the start, I was actually a little bit worried that my VA was too good. So I worried that he was getting them from a deal sheet. So I just chopped and changed his stores and criteria like quite a lot to start with, just so that I could check that he wasn't doing that. And obviously, that worked quite well for me, but you may not feel the need to do that, but that's what I did.
So you give him like a list with stores that.
You all right?
1 second, something happened.
Oh,
So just 1 second, what happened? Yeah.
What's that?
Just 1 second. What is that? Someone called on the phone, and yeah, we're back. Yeah, someone called on the phone. Is connected. My mic is connected with the phone.
Oh, you're on the
phone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so that was my. I think I answered that question. Yeah,
and do you like give them like some bonus if they're good or things like that, or like at the end of the year, or how?
Yeah.
Or is
So I give my VAs at the end of the year. This will be their first year for that. If they've been with me for more than 3 months, then I'll give them a 13-month pay. So I will actually give them. This is how I do it. Some people do it differently, but I give them
13 salary or something like
13-month pay. So I'll pay them their wage in December, and then I'll actually double that. So I will literally give them, another month's pay on top of that. Only if I'm happy with their performance, obviously. If they're not working for me, then I'm not. It's performance based, and I'll give them a whole other wage, that monthly packet on top of their December packet. So that's what I do for mine, and I do actually give my VAs. I've got a pay rise process as well, so I'll give them pay rises every 3 months if their performance is up to scratch. If their performance isn't up to scratch, then I'll explain to them they haven't got it this quarter because of that. And I will actually give them bonuses if I think they've done really well in 1 week specifically. Then I'll just give them a nice bonus on their monthly paycheck, and they're really grateful for that. And I think that is a great motivation.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, 'cause something that I was thinking like, is it like at the end of the year or monthly?
It's up to you. But obviously, the more you pay them, that you can afford to pay them, then the better and the longer lasting they're obviously going to be in your business. So once you've mastered the management side of things, although this is part of it, and onboarding processes, which I haven't yet, but getting much better at it. The next problem then becomes keeping the staff motivated, obviously, which is a normal problem for every business. Keeping the staff, the VAs, incentivized moving forwards, isn't it?
Yeah, true. So I was thinking also to ask something like about how, like once you become like in the VAT threshold, how you you start to searching other products. Like
Mm.
that's the thing. If you already like you have something in your inventory, but that thing is not good already for you because you're already passing that threshold, and you obviously searching for something else. So
the question is, the transition period from when you go over the £85,000 threshold for VAT, how do you make sure that your inventory isn't losing you money or not making you in that transition process? Good question. Such a good question. I need to do a whole video on my YouTube about VAT registration because this was a nightmare for me. I didn't find this out until it was too late. So you want to be if you know that you're going to go over the 85, this isn't financial advice, by the way. You've always got to say that if you're talking about tax and money, you need to talk to an accountant, really.
Yeah.
But from my experience, right, you need to prepare for this before. So for me, when I went VAT registered, I only had a week after realizing that this was the case. So anything that you have in your inventory that is selling after you've gone over the 85k threshold, you will then get 20% VAT deducted off that, obviously, unless it's grocery.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to bear that in mind essentially a couple of months before. So if you know, this is why you need to be on top of your books and your profit and everything, because if you know that you're going to go over that 85k next month or 2 months prior, you need to forecast that, and then you need to start adapting what you're buying towards VAT registered. So you need to make sure that your ROI is higher on the items that are going to be 20% VAT, etc., more profit. You need to make sure it works out. Otherwise, you're going to do what I did, which you're going to pass the VAT threshold with only a week's notice, and you're going to be breaking even or pretty much losing money on loads of items. So that's the really good question. Basically, it's down to forecasting. You need to know when you're turning that over.
Yeah, like probably if you know how much you do every month, then you can calculate it probably, because
you can forecast it.
If it's like, let's say, the same amount, which it's impossible to be every month the same amount, but so it's like a few months before that. You
need to forecast that, because otherwise that can sting you for sure. You'll end up just, you may have a really bad month because you're paying that VAT. But to be honest, it's a bit of an icky process anyway. Going VAT registered is a bit of an icky time unless you've really prepared for it. It's always going to be it's going to be 2 or 3 months worth of, that's what it was like for me anyway, because it just feels a little bit all over the place when you're going VAT registered. You've got to completely pivot, unless you're doing really well. You've got to pivot your buying before you're VAT registered. I think this is such an easy business. Like, personally, before you're VAT registered, it's quite easy, because your profit's much higher. Once you go VAT registered, you've got to seriously. It's when it becomes like a proper business, and you've got to seriously focus on finding them good items and start niching down, in my opinion.
Yeah, and do you think about moving like a wholesaler or things like that, or at the moment?
Did I what, sir?
Wholesaler, like to be like a wholesaler?
What, did I start using them?
No, I mean, like to do like wholesalings, like
instead of OA.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I thought about it, and I've sort of tested that, and I've done some wholesale. I've set up accounts and stuff, but I've never actually done a proper wholesale order. And the reason, although I got very close and I had a few contacts built up, and the reason for that was because, in my opinion, look, the margins get lower in wholesale generally, unless you get a really good brand deal. The margins do get lower. You can be working at a 10-15% ROI. It's just a sheer numbers game. And for me, I made the decision that, what I think is that OA and wholesale are completely different businesses. So if you're going to do wholesale, then do wholesale. If you're going to do OA, do OA. If you're going to do private label, do private label.
Yeah.
And don't complicate them unless you're going to go all in on them things in separate entities and have different branches of the business once you've mastered one. So for me, I personally, I made the decision that I was just going to focus on online arbitrage for now, until I fully managed it and outsourced it and that sort of thing, or maybe forever. And the reason I did that is because if your focus is all over the place in these different things, then you'll never ever master that one thing. So for me, I wanted to master online arbitrage, not just be okay at it. I wanted to master it so that I've got this concrete income. And that's what I've actually started to do now. And when you start to master just OA or just wholesale, obviously I can't speak for that because I don't do it. But for example, I'm mastering OA now, and now I'm focusing on specific brands. I'm focusing on specific retailers. I focus on specific. You can really start to scale and master the outsourcing of your business because you're mastering every single little bit. You know what I mean? Like you're becoming really, really good at it, and that's when you become better than the competition. You can start to implement certain processes like minimum ROIs. You can start into VA pools, and you can all start aligning with each other. And sometimes when you master certain retailers, right, you end up having like the monopoly of that. And what I mean by that is you get so good at it, and you understand like the ins and outs of specific products. You understand when not to buy products, when to buy products. You understand when to keep a graph, when sellers, times of the year that sellers pop on, pop off. And then you can calculate all these buying decisions from that because you've mastered that niche. You know what I mean? Matthew Wright helped me with this a lot. Big 7-figure seller. He helped me a lot with this. If you're not in a niche, then you're missing out on so many items in that niche. And people make the mistake thinking that they should go wide on everything, loads of different categories and retailers, but then you never end up mastering the game. That's my opinion on it. So that's why I just do OA. So if I was you, and this is my opinion, some people may think differently, I would just master one thing until you've got really good at it, or you decided that you just don't, it's not for you and you've got to move on.
You also can continue to do whatever, like if you like OA, just continue with that. You don't need to move to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of stigma around that, as in like some people think, oh, OA is just a beginner thing and then I'll move on to this, or like, OA is all right for now, but I'll move on. And people say that because I think it's more of an ego trip. They like the idea of being seen as like a wholesaler, like doing wholesale or brand deals, private, because it sounds cool. But there's, you know what I mean? It doesn't, just because you're doing wholesale, it doesn't mean that, like you're superior or anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I read somewhere in the group, someone said that the proper way, the proper thing is to be a wholesaler, so you don't get suspended and things like that and things like.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of wholesale people that get suspended, so and that get stung really badly on pallets of products that aren't selling, and that are actually, a lot of them are making, they can make less money than the online arbitrageurs. So you've got to take your ego out of the way and just decide what business model you want to do, at least for the foreseeable future, until you've outsourced it enough to then move on to the next thing. And as I say, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and like I think my last question that I
go on
is, I don't know if you know, because it's obviously like, do you think it's more profitable to do that here in UK or to do in US?
Online arbitrage?
Yeah, online arbitrage. Yeah.
Honestly, I've never done the USA, so I can't speak for it. But I would guess, from obviously the inevitable data that's out there, the size of the country, I would guess that there's a lot bigger opportunities in America than the USA. And that's just me being honest. Like I would seriously, if I was starting again, I would seriously consider trying to master the USA rather than the UK. And that, there's still opportunity here, but I think the USA, you've got to be, it's probably easier in the UK than USA to do online arbitrage.
Yeah, I guess it's easier because it's a lot of more people like it.
A lot more demand, I suppose. It's
also like probably it's a lot of people in the listing as well.
Yeah. So the items will generally probably be a lot higher demand. So yeah, to be honest, USA would probably be, probably be a smart move to do that instead of the UK. I'll just be completely honest. If that's what you want to. But I've never done it, so I can't speak for that. But I would certainly be considering that as a viable option if I was starting out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it now.
I would. If you, the first thing I'll do is decide if OA is the one that you want to do, and then seriously consider USA or UK and look at the pros and the cons, because there's always going to be cons, you know what I mean? One of them being your inevitable items that are not going to be any good, the items that you have to pull out, the removal orders from the USA. It's like, hold on a minute, where are they going to go? Because like it's going to cost a lot to ship them over to the UK, maybe a big box once a month or something like that. But there's quite a few items that you have to remove, and in the UK it's easy because you can sell them on eBay. But you know what I mean. You've got to think about stuff like that. So the profit's got to cover little things like that.
Yeah, I also don't understand, because many people ask about the prep centers in US, how, because it's a obviously big place, and so which state to be the prep center and things like that.
Yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah.
I really wonder what's like.
You pretty need, yeah, because usually it's just one state and another state. You know, it's such a big country, isn't it? It's like different states. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to look into that stuff. But yeah, it's it's a model for the USA, so there's definitely a big opportunity there for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was my last question.
Nice. Did that help?
Yeah, because I know about the VAs, which was the most important thing at the moment.
Nice. What are you going to do with your in terms of the VAs?
Probably I'm gonna listen to you and wait a few more months, like maybe 2-3 months, and after that, probably I'm gonna hire someone to train them proper.
Yeah.
So
you just need to get on top of your profits. Like talking about what we spoke about just before the call as well. That would be my number one goal: getting on top of your profits. You know, like what are you actually making? Because that's literally it. That's the most important thing. You can't do. I wouldn't take a step further until you've got on top of your profits. Understand how much you're actually making.
Yeah, because I don't mind to. Because at the moment, as I said, I don't take any profit. I just put it back. Everything that I get, I put it back. So.
Yeah. But you still need to know how much you're putting back in, because you might not be putting back anything in because you might not be making any profit, and then you might be losing it. Do you see what I mean? Like that is a potentiality. A lot of new sellers actually don't know that they're not making any money. That you know what I mean? A lot of them aren't, because they're not tracking this to start with. So, mate, that is your number one thing that I'll be doing straight away, making sure that you start tracking them profits. You know.
Yeah, I understand. I will do that for sure.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah. So.
Anything else?
I don't think there is something else for now, but
that's all right. That's cool. It's about 45 minutes anyway. 42 minutes, 40 seconds. That's cool.
Okay, yeah.
Cheers for coming on for the episode number 1, Coffee with Hayden. I thought that was good. Hope that helped you somewhat. Obviously, you can post in the group if you've got other questions, but it's just cool to jump on here and do a little live, whatever. Yeah. So episode 1 done, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Thanks.